So you open up your fridge and you find that you got water leaking inside of your fridge. Where is it coming from? You clean all the stuff out of the fridge. No containers are leaking. Where is it coming from? You know where it's coming from? It's coming from your freezer, and it's an easy fix. I've got a Kitchenaid fridge. Water is leaking down into the fridge part out of seemingly nowhere. Well, turns out the problem is actually the freezer. So I'm going to tear this freezer apart and find the problem, which is actually a blocked drain line. You can't see the blocked drain line because it's way in the back behind this panel here. So to get there, I'm going to have to take out the sliding drawer, going to have to take out the rack, even going to have to take out the ice cube tray and undo a bunch of screws here. I've taken out the rack, but this sliding shelf here doesn't want to come. There's a trick with this. You push it all the way to the back, and then you grab it here, and you lift straight up. There are little things that sit in these channels, and you have to get the tabs at the very back, and then it'll pull right out. With the sliding shelf out of the way, we still can't get at the problem because there's a drain hole back here, and it's behind here and underneath here. In order to get this all apart, we're going to have to take out some screws. Right, so there's screws all over, and we're even going to have to take out the screws for the ice cube tray holder. You might wonder what kind of screws these are. They're not a Phillips, they're not a Robertson, they're not a slot. This is actually a hex type of screw, and I have a hex driver here. But if you don't have one, if you have a screwdriver that has changeable bits, chances are good if you take the bit out, it's the right size. I've taken out 6 screws. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The reason I had to take the ice cube tray holder out is because we're going to have to take this whole back panel off. This is as far as I'm willing to go without unplugging the fridge. You should probably unplug the fridge sooner than this. I've got a flashlight on for the rest of this stuff now. So this whole tray here just pulls up. Oh, and you can hear it's kind of crispy, so you can hear the ice under that. And then it just pulls out. Out it comes. And you can see there's a really good sheet of ice. There's a chunk that actually started coming out. So this is all iced over. And I'll show you the blockage. The blockage is right here. There's a hole there, and if I feel that hole, it's completely iced over. Now that hole hooks up to a tube that goes all the way through the back of the fridge and down into the bottom where there's a little drip tray. And so ordinarily, the water would be able to drip out, but in this case, it's not able to. So the ice builds up, and as the fridge goes through its automatic defrost cycle, you can see water dripping. That's not because I unplugged the fridge. This is naturally the defrost cycle of the fridge. So it drips, but it can't go anywhere. So it builds up here, and then eventually it finds its way down through these holes. You think, why are those holes there? Short answer is I don't know, but my suspicion is it's an overflow. So that way, if this exact scenario happens, then water will come down here instead of getting into parts of the fridge like the compressor and making an even worse problem. Look at how thick that ice is. That's a good chunk of ice. Now that I've got the ice out, you can see there's a lot of water. It's like puddles back here, puddles of water. So a couple things you can do. You could grab a towel and you could sop it up that way. I have actually purchased a syringe, a large non-medical syringe here, and got some tubing on it. This is what I'm going to try to use to defrost the drain hole that's down here. I'm going to try to put boiling water in, suck it back up, put some more boiling water in, suck it back up. Before I start that, I'm going to try to suck up all this water with the syringe, but you could use a shop towel, you could use a rag, you could use a bath towel, whatever you got. So there's the plugged drain hole right there. In fact, if I feel it, after I manage to get the layer of ice off, that little kind of post sticking up there is of ice. So it sits above the surface of it. We have to melt an entire long tube that goes through the whole fridge. We have to melt that. So I've got a syringe, I've got some boiling water. So I'm going to put some water in, some boiling water, let it do its thing, suck it back up, discard it, get some more boiling water, put it in, and that should work. If you had a lot of time and you could take everything out of your fridge, I still have everything in the refrigerator itself, just the freezer cleaned out, but you could just leave your fridge open and unplugged for however long it takes. I don't know, 4 hours, 12 hours a day. All right, so here's what we did. Got a cup of boiling water and used the large syringe with the long tube on it. And we just started putting a little water down into the hole there, the drain hole, and sucking it back out after, I don't know, 20, 30 seconds after we figured the water had cooled down. Suck it out, discard the water, suck up a little bit more boiling water out of the cup, and put it down there. And we kept doing it, kept doing it, kept doing it. And then eventually we started hearing the water drain out and we couldn't suck it back up again. We actually heard the drops going down into the bottom of the fridge. And now if I take this tube and I push it down, it's just going all the way down. You know, it's like the closet, the wardrobe going to Narnia there. So yeah, so this is fixed. As it turns out, I didn't need to remove the back panel, so I didn't need to remove those 2 screws, and I didn't need to remove the ice cube tray holder either. When I did this the last time, the ice jam was so bad, probably because there was a bunch of corn and stuff that had gotten spilled back there and it was frozen in there, but the ice actually came up, getting pretty close to the coils. This time, not so bad. So really, it would only have been 2 screws. It does go easier if you got somebody with you, though. So my son helped me. He ran the syringe, and that made it a lot easier because you need about 3 hands. You need 2 hands for the syringe, and you need 1 hand to put the tubing down the hole there. So make sure you have a reliable friend with you that can help. If you're curious about the syringe and the tubing that I used, I just got these off of Amazon. So I looked for a large syringe, and I looked for tubing that was compatible with the size of the end on the syringe. This one's 100 milliliters. Honestly, I could have done with like 30 or 40 milliliters, especially given how long. I think this is 3 feet long, 3 or 4 feet for the actual tubing, and really we would only come up to about 10 or maybe 20 milliliters at most. I hope that helped you with your issue with water leaking into your fridge.